this sort of open forum networking part of the equation out, but the actual rest will be recorded and posted to the Doug YouTube channel. Please use the chat. I already see there is some chatter in the chat, which is awesome. So please use that as an opportunity to engage. Sorry, we've got timing on these, but I'm going to try and hold them firm. We encourage you to use this opportunity, share your LinkedIn profile, connect. You know, people like Michael, sorry to put you on the spot, but you're getting back in the swing of things. A great place for you to be, to make connections with some people and you know, reach out. I know this is a fantastic community when it comes to supporting one another. So please leverage each other and engage. Of course, when we have the presentation itself, please keep all chat in the chat unless the speaker invites you off mute to come in and join in. But otherwise, we let the speakers kind of go through. That wasn't just a Michael, that was for everybody, for the record. So housekeeping, as I said, please keep your line on mute when the presentation is going on. And you can feel free to use chat to ask questions and send encouragement. We usually see great engagement in the chat, so please use that. Intro, so we've already kind of done the networking part. We'll do the Doug intro in a moment. I'll hand that over to Liz. Oh, timing. And then we've got Sean here to walk us through 3 ways solution architects build flexible solutions with minimal effort. And you had me at minimal effort, Sean, so I'm excited to hear that one. And then toward the end of the call, we always leave it open for debrief and connection, but we understand everybody's busy, so if you got to drop, you got to drop. That's totally fine. I actually, on that note, have to drop just before 2, unfortunately, but I know Rick is on his way in if he's not here already, and he'll wrap things up at that point if he's still here. A bunch of links to other initiatives that are in the Power Platform. Most of these are direct links to the Microsoft Direct pages. They are the community groups. We should probably put on here the Doug ones, but I know Liz or we will walk through the Doug stuff here in a minute. So if you see any errors or there's other groups that we should add to this, this is really just here to make people aware that, hey, there are some regional city-specific groups out there as well that you're welcome to participate in. We encourage you to join them. I mean, in this virtual day and age, you can kind of join from anywhere. So by all means, please leverage those opportunities. We have upcoming meetings. We're in the midst. We've got 5 or 6 people that I'm reaching out to with ideas to touch on for the next January through basically through June. I think we've got enough for. And so we should have those scheduled in the very near future. And then we'll start to push content reminders out via LinkedIn and things like that as soon as we have things firmed up. But earmark those dates, those 2 in particular, because they are definitely the ones we're targeting. On tap today, we've got Sean. As I mentioned already, we're going to cover the 3 ways to build, 3 ways solution architects build flexible solutions, which is amazing. And just a quick QR code. And if you want to use this to share tips on how to use PowerPoint for me, because clearly I'm having issues, that would be great. But you can also use that QR code. I'll pull it back up in a minute. Right here, if you have sessions that you want to submit, by all means, this is an anonymous form. You don't have to tell us who you are. But if you have sessions that you're interested in hearing, we'd love to hear from you. We can source speakers based on that information. If you know of people who are interested in speaking, or if you yourself are interested in speaking, we would love to have you. Just because I said I have a list of people doesn't mean they're all going to accept. So if you have ideas or things you'd like to present, we would love to have you join us and do what Sean is about to do here momentarily and just give us our content portion of the day. So all that said, Liz, now that you've seen me work PowerPoint, maybe you're like, you know what, I'll just take the screen over and do it that way, but I'll leave that up to you. What would you like to do?
Go ahead and share.
All right.
I trust you. You're doing just fine, Malcolm. Just fine indeed.
Hopefully you don't have unknown timings on there. I'm pretty sure I'm the one who put the timing on there, so it's my fault.
I do not have timings. Nope. Excellent. Not at all. Awesome. All right. Thank you very much, Malcolm. Welcome, everybody. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Liz Hallen. I am with Dynamics User Group. We are the organization behind the Doug Meetup program and supporting leaders like Malcolm and the others in Canada for hosting and doing things like what you are joining today. If you've not heard of Doug before, on the next slide, we are a free community for anybody that is interested in any of the Dynamics 365, Dynamics GP, or Power Platform products. We do have a worldwide presence with over 45,000 members to date. And we're all here with the primary mission and goal of really educating all of you on the core business applications that are offered by Microsoft, and other ways for you to network and collaborate and learn from other people, really to help you enhance your personal and professional career development. We already kind of talked about a little bit of the rules of engagement with you, Malcolm, but just ask that everybody be very courteous to each other. This is not necessarily a platform for you to sell your services and your products or do any sort of recruitment. We're all here to get educated, and so appreciate everybody attending to those rules of the engagement for today's call. In addition to the Doug Meetups, which you are joining today as a virtual group, we do offer several other free programs through the Doug organization. We have online discussion forums, we have free webinars. The YouTube channel that I dropped a link to in the chat includes, I think it's over 750 videos now, many of which are from the Doug Meetup programs, but also from the DynamicsCon virtual conferences. We record those and post those there. So would love for everybody to join. You can use that QR code there to get your free membership and learn more about all the things that we're doing. In addition to virtual and local user groups like this, we have been doing some larger regional Doug meetups, which is on the next slide, Malcolm. Some of you we just saw in Toronto here for our first Canadian regional Doug meetup a couple of weeks ago. It was a fantastic event. We had 150 attendees. It was a full day. The regional meetups are usually full days of content that's all for free. We bring you together to learn all kinds of stuff with the support of our local leaders. And so we do have some more coming up the rest of the year. And our next one in Canada may be in March. We're still working on dates and location for that, but we might go to Vancouver. And then we're looking at a June timeframe for being back in Toronto again for our next regional event in 2025. In addition to the Doug, yes, Malcolm?
Oh, I just said amazing.
Oh, yes.
To see so many more.
Fun. Yeah. So many more. And we have a couple others up our sleeve too for maybe some international locations. So, but we are also the host of the DynamicsCon conference. This is our annual big get together. We're going to be in Chicago, Illinois, the week of May 13th. And we'd love for all of you to join us. This will be a 3-day event targeting 3,000 attendees at this event with a big expo hall and all the bells and whistles and tons of fun learning and networking opportunities. We do have a promotion going on right now for a buy one, get one registration pass. And that will expire at the end of the year. And I don't know if you have that slide on here yet, Malcolm, but that was one of our newer slides in this intro deck. There it is. So to get that buy one, get one, just use the promo code DCONCHEER-BOGO during registration, and that will help you get there. I did want to mention as well, just for this group's purposes, in addition to this local kind of Canadian virtual group that we are all part of here today, there's been some recent movement for some other Canadian local groups that are forming. We just had our first event scheduled. So the Business Central group is getting together virtually for now, but we do have two new groups, but it's technically one, but we wanted to make sure we were spreading the love across the province of Quebec as well as Toronto. So I will drop links to those two new groups in chat, and those are meant to be more ERP focused. So for now, they'll be Business Central and F&O. So would love for you guys, and we should be having an F&O specific event coming up here soon. So would love for any of you who are kind of cross-product and have interest in more than just CRM and Power to join on that one as well.
Amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, please do drop the links in there. We'll add them to the deck and go from there.
Wonderful.
Excellent. So now I'm just getting there. There he is. He's there. Sean, I see you. You look poised and ready to take over the hot seat and walk us through how to work less. but still produce great things.
I hope all your bosses are listening. This is awesome. Or if you're your own boss, I hope your family's listening. I'm so excited to be here. This is fun. I've wanted to be here for a while. Hi, I'm Sean. That's the end of my intro because I think you're more interested in the tech than me talking about my accolades. I would have loved to share them, but maybe if there's time at the end. I would love for this to be really interactive. Please talk, like raise your hand, interrupt me, ask questions, say things that will make this so much more fun and let me know what's clicking with you and what isn't. I would love to have your cameras on. I can see all of you right now. I'm looking at mostly a bunch of off cameras, which is fine. You might have crazy stuff in the background, but I so appreciate Liz and Malcolm having your cameras on. Tracy, Jiajin, Denise, Dinesh, if you want to join. Michael, thank you. No pressure. Would love to see your beautiful faces. The other part of this is to prove how interactive it is, I would love for you to rank your Power Automate skills. Please put this in the chat, or if you're on camera, you can hold up your hands because I can see it. Give me a 4 if you're really good at Power Automate. Throw that in the chat. Give me a 3 if you're really good, but you feel weird about saying you're good because you have modern day syndromes like I do. And then give me a 2 if you've done some stuff with it, and give me a 1 if you're like, I barely understand what you're even talking about. All of it's fine. All right, Malcolm, I think that's technically a 5, but all right, take it. All right, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Twos. All right, this is great. So we're going to work with that. I'm going to show you 3 techniques to build flexible solutions with minimal effort. And honestly, I think memorizing the Power Platform and working really hard is not the best use of time. I think there's all kinds of ways to be incredibly effective by doing less. And we're going to walk through some of those today. I have 3 principles that I consider for good architecture, and in my trainings I say this, which is the first one being performance. Things have to run fast. Because your customers care, but I care less about your customers. I care more about you. And I want your time to go faster, as in you debug faster, you get to go home sooner. The other part is reusability. You could build faster, but B, you could just work less because you're using the same thing you already built. And I'm going to show you so many pieces of it today. This is going to be really demo heavy. My browser might crash because I have like 10 tabs open, so we'll see. And then the last one is over-architecting. This is a great time for us all to argue. Every time I get to this slide, there's like some very technical people who disagree with it. We'll see. To me, our over-architecting is really what customers love, because if you don't over-architect, they're like, wait, you're telling me we don't have to build that? We could just do this other thing? Like, that's amazing. So all in all, I don't think these are 3 principles of good architecture. They're just 3 principles of spending more time with your family. Let's go into what we're actually going to do today. So we're going to have this fake outdoor adventures company, and I have them up here. It's just a basic model-driven app. I wanted to give myself musical accompaniment, but I'm not going to do that. So in here, I have a bunch of instructors. They teach things like canoeing, kayaking, whatever. They have certificates. Like in here, I'll zoom in. Ahmed's certified for animal safety and then lifeguarding, and then I'm certified for scuba diving, which is absolutely not true, and then lifeguarding as well. Let's pause here. Let's pretend that this fake business wants me to do something specific. They want it so whenever an instructor gets an award, it's like a big thing. So if Malcolm gets like certified for animal safety, or Tracy gets certified for like, I don't know, water safety, they want to send you a text message like, congratulations, you got it. You could post about it, you could do whatever, okay? So we have a Power Automate flow that when you get an award, when you get certified, you're going to get a text message. So that's awesome. But we got a new requirement. They want to do is if somebody hops into here and tries to create a brand new award, I want to see how interactive we can make this. Ryan, what's your favorite outdoor activity? If you don't mind, riding monks, no pressure. All right.
I would probably say camping.
Ryan, you look like a golfer. I think golf.
There you go.
I think
golfing.
Golf.
All right.
I have never golfed a day in my life.
Let's clarify that then. Cool. So here, let's pretend we come in here and Ryan adds this new award called Golfing for Amateurs, and he wants to assign it to himself. Richard can come in and be like, no, we have an API that validates this. We don't want you sitting here creating all these bogus awards. So let's go back here. Inside of our process, we have a couple of flows. The first one is sending you SMS messages if you got the award. The second Power Automate flow checks if the award is actually valid. Okay, so before you make an award, I'm going to stop you based on the API to see if it's actually valid. So this one authenticates, this one authenticates, this one checks if the award is valid, this one checks if the award is valid. Open question to all of you. Who wants to raise their hand and bravely say, hey, I think there's kind of a small issue with this process. This could be better. Does anyone see something that could be gooder? Anyone see anything? No pressure if none at all. And Liz, you can't say it because we literally saw each other yesterday on the session, which is so funny.
Do you want me to answer, Sean? Because I just saw you do this yesterday.
You know what? Yeah, please do, Liz.
What I see here is you have duplicated 2 of your process steps. That maybe they could be combined and not have to recreate it twice.
I'm going to leave and you could just resume and do this for me. So yes, all of this can be combined and done in one. So without letting Liz steal the show, does anyone have any ideas like how do we combine this stuff in Power Automate? Does anyone know? Feel free to raise your hand. Feel free to write in the chat or feel free to stay silent and I will tell you in a couple seconds. Sweet. 2 seconds pass. In here, what we could do is first of all, before I tell you, we're violating the rule that Liz just said, which is repetition. Anytime you see repeats of code anywhere, it is a giant red flag. So in here, what we can do is instead we can make a child flow. So we take that duplicate logic, we make a third flow. And then we have these 2 different flows all call this flow. So what happens is if Richard decides to change the API a little, now Ryan doesn't have to fix it here and then remember, oh crap, I got to fix it here. No, Ryan can come in here and fix it all in one place because these 2 are sharing it. It's all going to one. We're going to come back to this process in a second. Now, if you're in a pro code background, this is called the Liskov principle about reusable, this blah, blah, blah techie talk. The point is, it's the idea of you don't want to repeat yourself. This appears all the time, this concept all over the place. It's not just Power Automate. So in here, I have a Canvas app. And this Canvas app's pretty neat. Remember when I was talking about how we want to be careful who gets what award? So in this case, if Dinesh gets the Animal Safety Award, we can give him a thumbs up. In this case, we have Saiju got the Truck Driving Award. So I'm going to say, yeah, thumbs up. Saiju definitely gets that. Let's go over here. Ahmed gets Animal Safety. Cool. I check these off, and at the end, I click this button, and it sends them for official processing. So this right here is just like the final check to make sure, do these people, are they going to get their SMS and everything? Okay, let's pause here for a second. Denise Strong, have you ever been scuba diving? All right.
Only in a pool.
In a pool? Okay, great. So let's pretend you're learning to scuba dive. I assume you would want someone who's certified in scuba diving. You don't want someone who's like, hey, it's my first day. I've never done this. I got this degree online for scuba diving. Like, you would want someone who's certified. So in this case, if you notice, we have all these exclamation points here. Certain certificates are super duper safe. Sorry. Certain certificates are very dangerous, so we really want to double check if this person should get it. So what we do is we show this icon, this exclamation point. So if we hop into the code here, come on now, great. And then we go to this, we'll see that we have this visibility logic. Don't worry about the code, this is just code. This code is just checking like, hey, this particular certificate, is this one of those dangerous ones? If so, be extra careful when you look at it. And if we approve someone like me to have scuba dive and we give the thumbs up, we also want to show this exclamation point here again, because we want to say like, hey, just make sure you're careful here. All right, we have this exclamation point here and here. What does that mean? If we hop into the code on this side as well, you will see that I have the same visibility code. Here's code here, and if you don't believe me, I'll just highlight it here. That's the code. And then over here, we have the exact same code going on right here. See that? 2 places, duplicating code. Any of my Canvas app people here, I don't know if there's any on the call, is there a way, or anybody want to guess, even if you're not a Canvas app person, how can we prevent this from happening in Canvas apps? Feel free to raise your hand. Throw it in the chat. Say it out loud if you want to. Any thoughts? All right, awesome. And I appreciate Malcolm communicating to me that he's like, I wonder what's going to happen. So in here, what's going to happen so far is I'm just glad this is still working. If we go into here and then we go into the app and we go on the start screen, we have on start. What we have, or I clicked on the wrong one. We have this thing called formulas. Formulas are awesome because what they do is like, hey, instead of writing a bunch of code sprinkled across your Canvas app, you just put them in one place. So I took that code I showed you earlier and I shoved it into this formula called isSpecialAward. So now I can take this isSpecialAward and use it all over the place. I can come back here, go back onto my certificate here, and then let's go here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click up here and then put 2 slashes. And then let's use what we just talked about, isSpecialAward. Sweet. And then in here, I'm going to go select whatever it is, pass in the parameter. Boom. Does the exact same thing. I can take this same formula, reuse it over here. I can come in here and then select this. And then what I'm going to do is come over here and comment this out. And then I'm going to do isSpecialAward. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. See? So now, just like Ryan was able to earlier fix the API change in one place, the same developer who's working on the Canvas app, instead of jumping around between these 2 places, fixing all the repeating code everywhere, they're just going to come on over here, click app, go to formulas, fix it in one place, one and done anytime things change. So repetition is really going to hurt you. The other one, and we're going to keep this party going. AI builder. I think I would get kicked out of this meeting if I didn't mention Copilot. I will minimally for the sake of all of your LinkedIns that you hear enough. So let's talk about AI builder. Let's pretend I have this SharePoint site. I don't know why I have this as a slide. I have it for you right here. So let's pretend I have this SharePoint site. And let's say I have AI builder running on it. So whenever I upload a resume, for using the term just sent, yeah. If I upload a resume into here, I want it to do some automations of some sort. So let me show you, like here I have a resume that looks like this. And then I'm going to upload it. And let's say I want them to, I don't know, like extract some of the languages. I don't know, it extracts stuff from here. Okay, that's what I want it to do. I can do that in SharePoint. And let's say in SharePoint, I have a Power Automate flow that uses that. So how I would do this is I would come over here and I would use the AI hub. And I could make a specific resume processor, invoice processor, anything where I needed to pretty much process a document. And we can open up in here. We don't have to spend too much time on this, but in here, these are very easy to build. They really walk you through what you need to do. I see why this costs more money because it's very cool and very easy for your end users. So anyways, the way that's used is once we hop into, let me pick a random flow I got here. I can go into here and then use like AI builder right at the top. Pick, let's see, extract information from documents. And then I'm going to go down here, pick my AI model resume processor. That's the one I just showed you right over here, model resume processor. Okay. I'm not going to show you how to do it in Power Automate. I'm just showing you that it obviously can be done and I can use it. So I can use it here in Power Automate, but I can also use that in other places. For instance, let's say I have this Neato app right here, and I'll just delete it, where I want to have this interface where a user can upload a resume here, and I want to extract the title, name, and ID. I can change this model a little bit to give me even more details, and I can reuse this model. So what I can do is come into here, and then coding live is so fun, such an adrenaline rush. Let's see if this works. I'm going to put in here form processor. Cool. I'm going to select my model, just the same way I selected in Power Automate. I'm selecting it here. Cool, got that. And then I'm going to hit play. And then let's see if this thing is mad. Form processor 2. What is this angry? Oh, it wants form processor 1. Fine. Let's change it to that. And I'm not being yelled at anymore. Good. Let's go add a document to it. So I'm going to come in here and add that resume from earlier. Come on. Select it. Let's see. All right. There we go. It is running. And hopefully, if demos work right, it's going to take this information and shove them into here. And I did it. See? Okay, cool. So my point is I'm reusing my model in Power Automate and in Canvas apps, and I could go ahead and reuse this in potentially other places as well. What other places? Well, let me get my slide deck back on here to remind me. So, cool. The other one is, lovely. What we just talked about was pretty awesome. First of all, we reuse code within one technology. So Power Automate, reusing it across Power Automate. Then we reused it inside of Canvas apps. But then what I just showed you, we reuse it between Canvas apps and between Power Automate. We could take it a step further. This is kind of in preview. I haven't seen anyone truly using this at any kind of legitimate level yet, but they're coming around. I don't know if you've heard of them. Low-code plugins in Dataverse, they're very cool. Low-code plugins, they're going to allow you to run them in Canvas apps. You can use them in Dataverse, especially this idea of custom connectors, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Customer connectors is a functionality we can use in a lot of different areas. So let's make a custom connector right now. I just learned that these exist. Yeah, right on. They're nuts. So some of you have phone numbers, I assume, and some of you don't remember to type them properly, as I don't. So your system might get a bunch of this stuff. What you could do is force your user to type it in a certain way, but if any of you use Dynamics 365, like the phone number field, it won't necessarily force this. So you can add JavaScript, you can get all custom-y, it's tricky. But what we want is this. We want some kind of code that takes these bananas phone numbers and puts it into this really nice format. That's what we want. So you can try this in Power Automate, and it will be really, really tricky. I'll show you. So if we went into here and we try this in Power Automate, it's I saw a bunch of people with varying experiences of Power Automate. I will say this right here, super duper hard. As someone who uses Power Automate a lot, like good luck. Like remembering that sometimes it'll look like this, sometimes like this, sometimes like this, like that is a really hard thing to do. You're going to have a ton of conditions. Your code is going to, I think I have an example of it. Your code is going to look like this if you really try and do this. It's going to be kind of a nightmare. So as I told you earlier, I don't want you to work more. I want minimal effort. So do we have any kind of pro code people in the house? Any C sharpers? Any kind of Java people? Can you give me a thumbs up if that's you? Anyone here? All right. If not, no worries at all. So because what I'm going to show you, you don't even need to be a pro code person to be able to do this. So in here, haha, no, nice. Cool. So watch this. We're going to go into, where is it? Custom connectors. It's an area that when you're on home inside of Power Automate, you will not see this button here. You have to go to more and then discover all, and then you have to find it. So it'll be a scavenger hunt for you, but the first time you use it, you'll have to look for it. Anyway, so I have a custom connector here. What do custom connectors do? People mostly think about them as like, oh, here's a way I can connect to a foreign API. Yeah, that's what they usually are used for, but we can totally hijack this and repurpose it for something completely different. So watch this. If we go here, we're going to skip all this stuff. Security, definition. We don't care about security here because this is a tool for us as developers. So we're going to hop into here in this area called code. And we're going to go ask for some help because, I don't know, some of us don't know how to write C#. It doesn't matter. So write me some C# for a custom connector to, I'll zoom in a bunch, to take a phone number and format it into this format here. And then let's go snag the one I just had. Oh, it's right here. Cool. And we'll see what it spits out. Now, when I've done this before, it got it right like maybe it had to take until the third time. The first one here is it's doing this namespace connector. It thinks you're using this inside of like a .NET project, so it's not quite right. You're going to have to like work with it a little bit. But once you kind of tell it, once you show it the errors you're getting, it usually figures it out. And what it turns into is this. Let's zoom in here. And I don't want to make you squint your eyes. So I'm going to go open up Visual Studio, and we should have it maybe a little easier on us here. All right, come on. Great. And let me put a new text file, 1 second. All right, here we go. Great. And if we zoom in here, thank you for figuring out all the colors I need. Let's zoom in and see what this code is doing. It's way less intimidating than you think, trust me. So if we go here, the first thing it's doing is this is just the function it needs to have. It just gives this to you, okay? This is just what it comes with. You don't need to overthink it. The next part is it is looking for a specific property called phone number. It assumes you're going to give it something called phone number. What it's going to return when it's done with your phone number, it's going to return a formatted phone number for you. That's what it's going to do. And how it's going to do it, if we look down here, is it's going to use this library called regex, which is going to take that phone number and it's going to be like, all right, you want 3 digits? I'll give you 3 digits. I'll give you 3 more, and then I'm going to give you 4 digits here. Oh, by the way, I'm going to add the dashes for you, and I'm going to add the parentheses and all of this. Look at that. That's like 1 line of code plus this. Like very, very straightforward, much like this right here. It seems like a lot, but way more straightforward to fix and work with than that crazy slide I just showed you that was right here. So once we have that in action, what we can do is we can go in here, and I've been very impressed with just this overall, this interface in general. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to paste the, not that thing, let me paste the phone number inside of here. Let me get it again. Cool. And once I put it in here, here's, oh, that's the good phone number. I want it to be bad. So let's mess this up. Add some dashes here. We used to have Java that did this for us. Yeah. If Java C#, like they're so similar as syntax languages. Great call out, Ryan. All right, I'm going to test this operation. Let's look down here. Here's our old phone number, and then look at this. If we look at our new one, it is so nicely formatted like that. That's nice, right? All right, let's start using it. So if we go into our Power Automate flow, I come into here, and then what I do is I'm going to have a little compose statement. I kind of cheated. I have one right here, so I'm going to add this out here. Come on. So I have a weird phone number right here, like that. And then I'm going to hit this plus guy. And then I'm going to select under here, I'm going to select custom. So it's going to filter down to only the custom connectors I just made. So in here, I have my regex one. And this is, I'm going to select the format phone number so I can put multiple different ones under here. And then I'm going to hit advanced. Under phone number, I'm going to go select the very weird phone number. And I'm going to hit save. And we're going to run this live and see if it works. All right, so this is saving, doing its thing. And if you don't believe that I made this custom connector and that this isn't a Microsoft product, if we zoom in here, you will see that I don't think that Microsoft is going to put Bon Jovi as one of the little names inside of the icon. So for all of you, wait, is Bon Jovi from Canada? All right, we need to find this out. Where is Bon?
He's from New Jersey, isn't he?
Oh, I thought he was from. I thought that would be so cool because he's from Canada and this is in Canada, but he's from New Jersey. So we're gonna pretend the last minute didn't happen. Moving on. So Ryan Reynolds, he's Canadian, yeah.
Yes.
Did I just hear yes and no at the same time?
No, I said yep.
Okay, right on.
Oh yeah, you
Great.
heard yes.
Sweet. So in here, we just ran this. So let's hit back. And then cool. Open this up. Great. So if we zoom in here, here was our very weird phone number. That looked like this. And then we ran it through our little phone number custom connector with code we just had Copilot or ChatGPT make for us. So this was the parameter it got. And the outputs it got right here, look at our newly formatted phone number. So we can take that and then put it right inside of here. So now, as you can tell, I don't have a mess of Power Automate code. I have a few lines of C# that's doing it all for us. And as I promised you, reusability can jump between applications. So let's go and do that. If we go back to that other one I had in here and we zoom in a little bit, I can go into data and then I can hit add data. I can go down to, we're not going to add Dataverse. We're going to go to connectors. And then in here, I'm going to call, what is it called? Regex. There's my Bon Jovi regex phone number formatter connector. I can use it inside of this Canvas app. In fact, I already have it right here. So what I'm going to do is when you click this phone number button, it is selecting the regex assistant, the format phone number, which should all look familiar. It's the same thing that we looked at right over here when we were inside of here. And then what it's going to do is it's going to take whatever phone number is in here and then go format it. So let's go into here and then can I zoom in? No, not really. All right. So the phone number we're going to do is let's do this. Let's do 2 parentheses at the end. Let's do a few dashes. Let's do 1, 2, 1, and then a few more. And then let's let it run and see what happens. There it is. Yeah. So the point is I am taking code, using in Power Automate, using it in a Canvas app here, and it's all code that somebody else wrote for me. And that just the robot did it. And then I'm able to like work with the robot like a true Copilot and help me out in this context here. Awesome. Let me zoom out a little bit. Now, if you're already into usability, great, because we have more examples of it. So I don't know about you, but my flows crash sometimes. As much as I think they're great, they do. And I'm sure if anybody else here writes a lot of flows, your flows are crashing, which is fine. We're humans, technology, things break. Sometimes it's not our fault. What we can do is have a form of error handling. So I have this flow here that has a bunch of steps. Do you see this red arrow right here? What this does is I specifically added another scope here called handle errors. So if anything here crashes, this breaks, or this breaks, anything breaks, it's going to take all this and shove it into this process right here. This process is my error handler, and this error handler is quite nice. How it's running is I just clicked on this red dot and I said whenever it has failed. So I only want this running if something has failed, not if it's successful. So in here, I can make a special flow that across my organization, if any flow fails, it's going to go and call this one flow. And what does this flow look like? I have it over here. So error handler. Perfect. Let's zoom out. So I'm going to open this in another tab here. Let's hop in here and open that. Cool. Great. Ryan, I appreciate you, by the way, being the one person staying strong on camera with me. So in here, if we look at this error handler, what it's doing is it's taking in a few parameters. So in here, it's taken in the name of the flow, the person I have to notify. For instance, I'm going to try my best to pronounce it, Jia Lin. I'm curious how close I was. If it has to notify you, if you were the developer of the flow, it's going to show the flow URL wherever the specific flow run where it crashed, a message of what crashed, and then the environment. So I know I said that fast. Well, all it's doing is it's going to Teams, getting Jaja Lin's name, and then it's posting it inside of a Teams channel saying, hey, there was an error reported in the flow. So what this looks like is, if we hop in here, she would be just minding her business, doing her job, and then she would get suddenly a Teams message that said error from flows, and then there would be a 1 next to it. And then afterwards, she would open it up and she would see this specific message saying, error in this particular flow, start onboarding process. Here's what failed. And if you look into here, this URL is wrong. So she can go fix it. The point here is she's not sitting around waiting for, let's pretend Leonard is the end user. If Leonard is using this flow for some reason and it crashes, he may find out right away. He may not find out right away. And then days later, he's like, wait, why are my reports wrong? Why didn't my email get sent? And then he has to contact Lynn, and then she has to go figure it out. But here, she gets to find out way before he does that there is a process with this. So that way he can go and address it. Now, I didn't explain to you how to actually write this flow. Don't worry about it. I have a whole YouTube channel where you can watch it, and I walk through this process that's way better than how I'm explaining it here. So that's definitely there. I'm going to pause for a second. Do we got pronunciation's almost perfect? That's what's up. Do we have any questions so far? I don't blowing through stuff, so I'm happy to answer any questions if anything comes up. Or if you have a question that's kind of related to what I'm talking about, but more related to work, I'm happy to answer that. Cool. If so, I will continue onwards. Azure functions. Anybody work with these? I don't know if Tracy or Dinesh or Leonard, if either of you have ever worked with them. They're pretty advanced, they seem, but you can do some really neat stuff, and mostly you don't have to worry about them being too advanced, because what you can do is you can leverage what I just showed you, Copilot, to write a lot of this for you. I work with people who work with them. Does that count? Yeah, that counts even more, Robert, actually. So let's look at what you can do with Azure functions that you can try to do in Power Automate, but it'll be a mild nightmare. So if we come into here, and then we're going to back this up over here. And great. So we have some JSON right here. All right. Great. What we want to do is let's keep it simple. I want to filter for all the records where the cost is, I don't know, $75. So I can use this library called JamesPath. And what it will do is I can go into here and type in outdoor activities. And then I'm going to add these brackets here. And then I'm going to put where cost, that's this property here. Cost is, and I'll zoom in if this is still not zoomed in enough for you. I'm going to do where cost equals, and then let's say, I don't know, 75. I think I typed that wrong. Cost is 75. Right there. Do you see how that filtered for me? So I did this whole filter right here in this one simple expression. Maybe you're impressed, maybe you're not. My question is, does anyone know? Throw this in the chat. Give me a yes or a no in the chat. Can you do this in Power Automate? Any guesses? I see some nods. So no one's typed in the chat yet, which is totally understandable. We got some maybes. What is it called? Myth bust. Let's debunk this myth. So if I go into here and then what's an open flow? Let's just take this one. I can go into the plus, add an action, and then I can type in filter. And what I can do is I can select this filter operation. I can choose whatever my source data is. I guess doesn't really matter. I can go into here. I can do item. So that selects an individual item from my list. And I could say is equal to 75. This will do the same thing for sure. So I don't expect you to be too impressed with what I just showed you. Why would you use an Azure function for this? Well, let's start, up in the ante here of what we can do with this. So if we go back to here, we just did where cost equals 75. We could also do where cost is greater than 75, which is nothing. So let's do cost greater than 50. All right, let's start throwing in some other stuff into this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select where I'm just going to pick a fairly crazy one. Hold on. I have it already typed up ahead of time. Let's paste this in here. Hopefully this will work. Great. All right. What just happened here? So I have outdoor activities where cost is greater than 0. The length of the name is greater than 7, which, by the way, between Azure Functions and Logic Apps. Robert, wonderful question. First question of the day. You get a sticker. I guess I can mail it to you. I will answer that question in just a second. So greater than 7. Can I do this in Power Automate? By the way, at this point, I'm kind of freestyling here. This will be fun. Let's try to do this in Power Automate. Item is equal to 75, and the length of the name is greater than 7. I'm going to go into advanced mode, and it would be like this. And it would be like this. I'll type it here. And then I'd have to take what this thing is, equals 75. I'd have to put that into here. And I know you probably can't see my screen, but I'll make it a little bigger here. And then you'd have to put like greater than item, then property, and then name. If you can't see this, I'm like going to be done in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'd have to do something like this. So, ta-da! Good luck reading that and understanding it, because if this gets really long, like it's not gonna look. I can't even edit in the basic mode because it's too complex. I hope you're starting to see this is mildly falling apart. All right, so here, if we go, yeah, Malcolm dropped, but I think we're all here, so that's a great sign. It didn't completely crash. So, yeah, you could get this far in Power Automate, but it's going to start to get rough. Here, I'm also sorting. I'm sorting by cost. And then the last thing I'm doing is I'm sorting by the danger level. So I'm doing sorts, double filters, all in just one lovely line of code. So I can make this even more nuts, because here, do you see how I have danger level cost name? Here I have name, danger level cost. I can actually change the structure of how it's output. So what I can do is go all the way to the very end here. And then I want to, I don't know, let's select the first one. Cool. And then I'm not even happy enough with this. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select name. And then I think I'm typing that wrong. So let me get the actual way it's supposed to be typed. 1 second. It is, oh, I got it. I'm going to go to the end here. And then I'm going to do dot name. You see that? Now I'm not even adding the property here. I'm just outputting the value. So here, and then I'm also going to do, I don't know, cost. Cool. See that? So now what I'm doing is not only am I filtering it and sorting it in very crazy ways, but I'm also outputting it in the way I want. This type of a library is very, very powerful, totally not available in Power Automate, but if you try to use it in a custom connector, like I showed you, where was it? You remember that custom connector I showed you? Yeah. If I try to use it in here, guess what? It won't work either. I know, that was a giant disappointment. That's because this code here can only use very basic C# or .NET libraries. However, if we go here, JamesPath is its own custom non-Microsoft library. If I want to use this, it's when I want to use Azure Functions. So I've pretty much taken all the code that does this. And by the way, this code is super simple. All it does is call this, it uses this library, and all it's doing is just passing in JSON and then passing in the result query. I'll show you. Only C# and .NET. Michael, can you please elaborate on your question, if you don't mind?
Just asking if I'm assuming it doesn't use Python or anything like that, any other languages?
What a wonderful question.
Yeah.
So are you a Python guy?
I know Python. I've used it a bit. That's what I was talking about, that Q developer thing. But yeah, I'm not familiar with .NET. I know it's very Microsoft centric. So I just wanted to have that question thrown out there.
Okay, that is a terrific question, because not only can Azure Functions, so first of all, Python absolutely supports this library. A bunch of languages support this library, so you're good there. You get a bonus for knowing Python. Watch this. If I come into here, if we look at here, here's my Azure function that does this. And Michael, I'm going to address your question in a second after I show this. It'll make more sense. And who was it? Robert, I definitely didn't forget about your Logic Apps questions. Trust me, it's all connected. So if we go into here, and I'm going to test this function to convert Python logic apps to C# for sure. This is fun because we can discuss the pros, cons. I'm going to come into here, and then I'm going to go pretty much just paste this stuff, all of this that I'm doing right into here. I'll do it in real time. So I can come in here and let's do JSON. Let me know if this is zoomed in enough for you. I hope you can see it. I know it's kind of small here. Am I blocking it? I hope not. So I'm going to do JSON here. And then afterwards, I'm going to do James path. And then in here, I have to put that in quotes. So let me snag this stuff here. All of this. I'm going to put that right here. Cool. And then under JSON, let's select all this stuff here. And then put this here. And then maybe this will work. I tried to demo this yesterday. Totally crashed. So we'll see what happens. And run. Look at that. Rock climbing 50. Just like in here. Well done, demo. Thank you. And all the other stuff totally works. So I can go into here. And then I can switch up the, let me zoom out. Switch up this query to make it like way simpler. Like let's ditch all this sorting nonsense here and then ditch that formatting. I'm gonna keep it simple, hit run. And then there it is. Cool. Yeah. Now let's answer your questions. So Michael, can you use Python in Azure Functions? Totally. Not only can you use it, you're going to love it. Here's why. As you probably know, because you use Python, and for all of us non-pro code people, there's this concept called like a compiler. So it takes your code, compiles it into code that a computer can run. Other languages like Python and JavaScript, it doesn't really compile anything. It just like runs them in the moment. So that means if your code has a bunch of errors and is going to crash, doesn't matter. It's gonna go try to run it. It might crash. C#, Java, those languages are, I'm forgetting the term for it, but since they have to be compiled, it means that you can't see the code here because it has to be built and then put into here. Python, because Python does not have to be pre-built. Michael, if you were using Python here, you would see your code right here. You could sit here and edit it, which is very cool. Versus me, I have to go write all my code in Visual Studio and then go deploy it to the Azure function. Versus you, if you're using Python, you could sit here and do it right here. Now you might be asking me, why would you use C# when you can use Python and it's so cool? That's a bigger question. C# has some other benefits that Python doesn't, vice versa. So yeah, in your case, you can totally convert the Python logic to C#, or you can just happily use Python logic here. Did that answer your question, Michael? Great. No, no one's left behind. Great. Let's go into that other fun question that was, remind me the relationship between Azure Functions and logic apps. Woohoo, that's a good one. Try to think if I want to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm throwing away my demo. We're going in a completely different direction for these next 5 seconds to answer Robert Bailey's question. We're going to go into my Azure environment. We're going to hop into logic apps because that's what he cares about. And we're going to go into this, I think it was process adventure activity. So this is great. This is like the Wild West, so like this might work. If you look here, we have when an HTTP request is received, blah, blah, blah. I have this logic app. If I hit this plus and I hit an action, if I type in here like data bursts, you'll notice that it takes longer to load. Come on, do the thing. There you go. Look, it has almost the same stuff as like Power Automate. Like this logic apps interface is like, frankly, almost identical to this. It's incredibly similar. Looks like Power Automate. Yeah, it totally does. Guess what? If you know Power Automate, you're like 90% of the way there in knowing logic apps. And if you know logic apps, you definitely know Power Automate. There are some nuances here, like if you go in here and type in approvals, a very cool Power Automate feature, it's not in logic apps. Logic apps gives you a lot more advanced security, and I could sit here and spend the rest of this time talking about the two of them, but I'm going to stop it now and actually answer your question. So Robert, you were asking about the relationship. Watch this. If I want to call that Azure function I just made, the one that does all of this stuff, I don't have a native way of calling it in Power Automate. if I wanted to call it in Power Automate, I'd have to go in here and then, cool, here it is, hit this plus, and I have to make an HTTP request. And then where is it? Come on. There we go. I'd have to use this, go make it. Here's the thing. This action might be banned in your organization because of data loss prevention. They might not allow you. Or even if they do allow you, now you have to like set up security and like the authentication gets fascinating. So that's tricky. Watch this. What you can do inside of Logic Apps that you can't do inside of Power Automate yet, or there are ways, but it's really, really hard. I can go in here and hit plus, hit an action, and I can type in Logic Apps. Or sorry, that's not what I want. Azure Function. If I spell it right. Look at that. Choose an Azure Function. Let's remember that we see this because some of you are going to think there are ghosts and your eyes are playing tricks on you. I'm going to select this Azure Function. Look at that. JSON Assistant. It already knew which one I wanted to pick. Bruh, I know. Just wait. Once I select the one I want, let's go try to do the same thing in Power Automate. If we hop in here and we go in here and hit plus, add an action. This is for your own sanity. I'm going to type in and do Azure Function. It's kind of lonely, right? It doesn't exist. You don't have that in here. So you natively inside of Logic Apps can call, what are they called? Azure Functions. And on top of that, if you noticed here, when I selected it here, you'll notice that it let me pick it. Request body, here's where I have to go put in this whole thing. If you notice, it didn't ask me for authentication. I can't spend too much time on this, even though I would love to. It's because it natively uses managed identity. Managed identity does not mean you're using app registrations. You're not using username and password stuff that's not very secure. What you're using is basically the identity of this app. So what you're saying is like, hey, Logic Apps, the authentication for this Azure function is the Azure function itself. You don't need to pass username and passwords. You're just saying, hey, I allow this to be used by this. It is the most secure thing you can do. It's like the most Microsoft endorsed like level of security. You don't always have that option, especially with Power Automate. It's very hard to set that up, but you do have that with Logic Apps. So, Robert, I know that took a while, but did that answer your question of the relationship between Logic Apps with Azure Functions as opposed to Power Automate? I hope so. And if not, I'm happy to expand on it. We good, Robert? All right, I see someone. Okay, we got a thumbs up. All right, we'll count it. All right, onwards. So cool. That was great. That was such a fun getting away from like the whole point. So let's get back into what were we talking about? Yeah. Azure Functions. So Azure Functions are great. Cool. So the whole point I'm trying to kind of get across here, and I think Rick's in charge. Rick, I have 15 minutes. Yeah. Rick McCutcheon?
Yes, you're good.
You do.
Okay, sweet. Yep. Thinking bigger. So in here, got to draw over the things over there. Yeah, nice. Happy to hear that. Jaja Lin. So in thinking bigger, I talked about the reusability of flows. We talked about custom connectors and how you can use those between Canvas apps and Power Automate. And then you can also use JavaScript. That's something that's reusable. AI Builder, we already looked at that one. Totally reusable. Azure Helper Functions, super duper reusable. You can use them in like you can use them in Logic Apps. You can use them in Power Automate. Since it's a function, you can use them in ProCode. You get a lot of options here of what's reusable, but I'm going to stop here. All of these are options for reusability, and you should consider it. There is one kind of warning here. That warning is that when you're using any of these, there's a huge potential for like over-architecting it and potentially using these things when you really don't have to, and you're creating a ton more work for yourself than you really need to. So, over-architecting. Most people think over-architecting is something like this. Here I have this very weird metaphor of a person climbing to a golden flag. We have approach 1, approach 2. People think over-architecting is like, oh, I'm going to do some hard work at the beginning, and at the end, it's going to be really easy. like a Roth IRA or something. Like, you know, hard work at the beginning and then it's easy. And then other people think like bad architecture is it's super easy at the beginning. I'm going to do a bunch of hacks, then it's going to be hard. That's true. But when I think of over-architecting, I think of more like something like this, that instead of thinking there's only two approaches to solve a problem, it's remembering that there might be a completely opposite goal in a very different direction that accomplishes the exact same thing that's way easier than any of this stuff. And we're going to explore that. So we already shared here this one. We'll come back to this one if we want to. I think this example isn't as fun as this other one I have here. Cool. So, great. This is a good time. Let's say that whenever somebody gets an award, we want to take a photo of them. All right? That's really key for your users. So we know that in Canvas apps, you can take photos. There's a photo app here somewhere. Let me open that back up. Cool. Here, and then I can go to plus, insert, and then I think it's, I forget where it is. Was it like camera? Camera, there it is. I can use that. I do not have that option inside of model-driven apps. There's no like camera component I can use. So if I want to solve this problem of being able to like kind of take pictures of awards and add them to the certificate, so what that looks like is if I come in here and I'm like, oh, here's an award. Here, I'm going to choose the instructor, for instance, like this person, and they get the certificate for animal safety. I also want to take a picture of them with the award. Like, how do I do that? Does anyone have any ideas? We're down to the wire here on people. So does anyone have any thoughts? Any of the Canvas app, model-driven app? Anyone here have any ideas? Any guesses? All right, I can hear the thinking. Let's go over some ways you can do it and that look cool in demos, but we'll see if it's really worth it. So if I come in here and hit proof, what you can do is inside of here, I wonder if this is going to load. This is not loading. That's annoying. But what this is if we come up here, let's see, not this one. 1 second. Let's go back here. Screen one. Cool. You can have this camera app here. By the way, does this look super weird? Like, am I like looking at myself right now for you in your okay, I'm sorry. This is just going to get slowly more bizarre. So in here, yeah, I have this camera right now. It's like crashing for some reason, not loading. But right here, I would have this app experience, and I'll just make it easier on you because I'm tired of looking at myself moving. So yeah, it'll look like this. All right. You could totally embed it here. I have to go debug why this isn't working, but honestly, I'm super grateful that this far of the demo has even worked because there's so many pieces here. So let's pretend this happens. Take care, Robert. In here, I could do this. I could add this embedded Canvas app. I could also totally do something completely different, which is much simpler. I can use I could just use a photo. Hold on. Let me show you an actual record, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's open here. Cool. So instead of using the Canvas, oh, here it is. It's loading. I wasn't lying to you. This is a thing. It does allow me. Here we go. Cool. So I could build this app that I just showed you here. Like, we could do this, or you could just do this. Just add a file upload. Like, seriously, like I didn't pull this project out of my memory. I didn't make this up. This is literally a project I was on, and I saw the developer build this, and it was super cool, and the client loved it, and they got to bill a good amount of hours for it. And if you're trying to find reasons to bill your client, totally build this. But I was like, why didn't you just use this? Like, there we go. We could have saved like 2 weeks. And by the way, this seems like you're probably thinking like, oh, but this is like, I have to maintain this in the app. This is way harder to maintain than you think. This app is like an iframe. So this is not your outdoor activity management app. This is a whole separate app. So you're going to come in here, see that this is crashing, and then you're going to have to go to a completely separate place in order to fix it. So this is a lot more work than it seems. This is an example of over-architecting. All right. So anyone have questions or thoughts on that so far? Usually people start arguing with me when I start giving these examples. Rick, do you have something? I saw your audio moving. All right, looks like we're good. All right, cool. So what's my point here? Stepping back from the text. So another one is, let's check this out. Everything I just mentioned earlier, where I said it's like totally reusable, like all this stuff, they're also giant red flags. If any of your developers want to make a Canvas app like what I just showed you with the camera, like, think, do you really need to do it? If you're using any of these, you might be making more work for yourself than you need to. So although I just told you that these are super great for reusability, just think twice, is there a different way to even solve your problem? All right, here's another one. If you had to migrate a bunch of Azure data, or honestly, who cares what the data source is? Let's pretend you had to migrate some data from SQL into Dataverse. Any thoughts on how to do that?
Using
Any tool,
Azure
or like,
Lake,
you know what?
maybe?
Wait, Dinesh, you got an idea?
Yeah, maybe using Azure Lake, like you migrate data there, and then probably use Synapse. So other
Fancy.
tools. Yeah.
I
mean,
love
that's
that.
that's what I that's what I came up with.
Wait, Dinesh, is that your background? Is like data stuff and like Synapse and Data Factory and all that?
Yeah, I use data export services. That was way back. Dynamics provided, and I did touch a little bit on data side, but yeah, I'm not not a super super knowledgeable on that, but I do a little
Okay.
bit of it.
I love that. I love that. So here, Dinesh just gave us some really cool, powerful, advanced stuff. So he was talking about you can use where is it? Azure Synapse. So we hop into where am I? How am I even gonna get there? Cool. So we can hop into Microsoft Azure. You could use Synapse. What is it called? Like OneLake. Not here. What is it called? Data
Data
Factory.
lake.
There it is.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
use Azure Data Factories. You got a lot of different tools for migrating this data. Okay. And you could build that, and it's awesome. And if you're like Dinesh and you have hundreds of thousands of records, totally do it. Rock it. Though, a question here, though, is yeah, that will work. But we never asked how many records we have. So if you have like even like a few thousand, hundreds of records, like that tool might potentially be overkill. Dinesh needs to use it because he's migrating like hundreds, tens of thousands for sure. But on a smaller amount, you could just come into here and then go into where is it? Here. Go into one of your lists of data, like I don't know, instructors, certificates, whatever it is. Give it a second. Hit these little three dots, import from Excel, just import from Excel. Take that SQL database, if it's a small amount of records, export in Excel and put it in here. You don't have to over-architect using very complicated tools if it's not necessary. Now, obviously, if like Dinesh was helping a client, he would ask all these questions and he would know. But what I see is people make that mistake where they assume it has to be some complicated thing when it really, really doesn't need to be. Okay, so cool. That was fun. Let's do another one here. Let's say inside of Dataverse, we have a bunch of emails that are appearing, like Benny at some fake email or whatever it is. We got a bunch of fake emails. How can we, once they enter our Dataverse system, how can we fix this data? How can we do things like prevent it from like even happening? Or when they do arrive here, be able to flag these records as a problem. Does anybody have any ideas? All right, so there's a few things people say. They say things typically in this situation, we can use JavaScript to like clean it up. We can use Power Automate, as I just showed you, to do all of this. Or we can use like some other tool. We can use like a plugin. We can use C#. Like there's a lot of stuff people say. And we can connect to some API to do it. Here's something else we can do. We can hop into here and click on, not here. Go under Admin Center. And of course, it has to load. I think it's because I have way too many tabs open. Let me close some of these and see if that speeds up what's going on here. I'm going to close some of these. Cool. Can we, for the sake of this example, pretend there's an admin center here? Like, we're just going to roll with this right now? All right, so oh, look at that. Thank you. And, you know, it's one of those, like, life things that as soon as you don't want it anymore, like, the less you want it, the more you get it. I honestly think some of the power platforms, like the Sorcerer's Stone, does anyone know what I'm saying? Okay, so if we open up one of these environments, what we can do is go into settings, hop into here under features, and I'm going to type in the word email. Look at that. Data validation, enable email address validation model preview. You could turn this on and save yourself from writing a bunch of JavaScript, a bunch of Power Automate, C# or whatever you were going to do. So is my point here that you need to memorize all this stuff? No, that violates the whole point of what I've been trying to show this whole time, which is it's not about memorizing. It's not about working harder. But what you can do is, before you think about using any one of these features, any one of these more custom-y features, think to yourself, does that already exist? And if you're not sure, go check for it. Go Google it. Go find out if that feature already exists before you waste your time building stuff. I would say like 20, maybe 30, closer to 20% of the projects I'm on, the developer didn't Google something first or didn't check on it. And then like just by me spending a little more time Googling, I was able to advise them on like this, trying out this other thing that already exists. Of course, there are problems with this. Like this is that tool I showed you is in preview. You have to try it out, validate for sure. But this could save you like a couple weeks of development right here. All right. One more example. And then, oh, I got 3 minutes. I got to wrap this show up. All right. Cool. Last thing I'll show you is here I have a, do I have it open here? Cool. Here I have this very cool like embedded custom page. And what it can do is I can come in here and I can really great, I can evaluate resumes. I can type in really great, I don't know, portfolio and hit like submit and it'll submit it. It's really cool. It's taking this information and then it's shoving it inside of SharePoint. Yeah? Great. Here's my question for you. What is this doing that SharePoint isn't already doing? Yes, SharePoint's a bit uglier. Fine. And maybe there's some specific features here that the customer wants. Whatever it is that the customer wants, is it really necessary that it's worth meriting building a whole new app that has to live in a solution that you have to now take care of and maintain when you could have just like made them do 2 more clicks in SharePoint or found out if SharePoint even takes care of it? I've seen a lot of times where a Canvas app is built that really doesn't need to be, and you could have just done it all here. I'm not saying that's 100% of the time. I'm saying that's something to watch out for. It's like, how can we get them away from that? And if you really want like the best of both worlds, you can click this is a bad example. Let's go here. You can like customize this, make this a type of like power, like custom app, so that at least the form is different, but they still live here. Because look at this, all this filtering, all this stuff is really nice. And now you have to build all that here. Like, you really want to do that to yourself? All right. Sorry, y'all, I'm out of time. Let me go to my final slide. First of all, I want to thank Malcolm, Liz, Rick, and generally this user group for having me. To remind you of what we even spent the last hour doing, we were ideally looking at 3 principles of working less, from performance through usability to over architecting. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always posting new stuff on solutions architecture or general videos. And yeah, would love to meet all of you. The end.
Hello, thanks, Sean. Sorry about that. I've got a contractor in the house and he just grabbed me, so I missed the end. But I'm not technical, so I don't know what the hell you were talking about. But I'm sure there's many people on this call today that enjoyed your presentation. And thank you very much for your participation. So I think that's it for our show today. Liz, you want to add anything?
Just thanks for being here, and just wanted to make sure there weren't any other questions from Ryan, Debbie, or Dinesh.
All right. Well, happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everybody. And we'll have our new schedule up soon for the new year. It may be up already. Diane's kind of ahead of me. So, but we're working on it. So we got lots of things planned for 2025, and we'll see you on the other side.